Several key revolutionary events can be seen as having an impact on the sans-culottes and their path toward political justice. The rise of revolutionary clubs proved integral to the mass movement of the sans-culottes. The clubs were created in the absence of political parties and were established to support the popular movement. The two most prominent clubs are the Jacobins and the Cordeliers. The Jacobins were a revolutionary club with an ideology based upon Enlightenment thought. They set a high entrance fee and thus associated more with the wealthier sections of society. The Cordeliers Club were more radical than the Jacobins and had no entrance fee. D. Rees, author of the French Revolution, states that the sans-culottes supported the Cordeliers as they promoted direct democracy and the right of insurrection if the government acted against popular wishes. Rees went on to discuss how the revolutionary clubs provided a stage for public speakers to debate their revolutionary ideals. These clubs, set up after the meeting of the Estates General in 1789, assisted the progression of the sans-culottes. Instead of seeking political change through legislations, the sans-culottes utilized their large support to promote change through public revolt. The popularity of these clubs spread across Paris and allowed the sans-culottes to communicate their values through angered Parisians. Their support grew rapidly from utilizing the revolutionary clubs and demanding collective action. The sans-culottes inadvertently influenced French culture and the disposition of French society through their emphatic role in the democratic revolution. Whilst radicalism and the political authority of the sans-culottes withered by early 1795, their ideals continued to exist in French culture. The long-term impacts of the sans-culottes proved imperative to the state of French society after the French Revolution came to an end in 1799. Land was freed from feudal burdens and France became increasingly dependent upon landowners and the agricultural industry. This supports the aspirations the sans-culottes held while opposing the monarchy and its bias regime. Historian M.J. Sydenham, professor at Carleton University, states that politically, the revolution was more significant than successful. This indicates that politically, the revolution did not successfully alter France for the better, but rather proved fundamental to future political development. Professor Issa Wallach of Columbia University supports this statement as he speaks of the revolution creating a sense of fear in surrounding nations' monarchies due to the spread of democratic ideals. The long-term impacts of the revolution and the role of the sans-culottes were evident in French society and the veracity of French politics during the 19th century. The sans-culottes' ideals inspired French politics during the 19th century as the common men and women were considered politically important. The sans-culottes' desires for societal equality was met as France's governing body created taxation based upon income rather than social condition. The revolution enabled long-lasting foundations for a unified state and strong central government, reliant upon the influence of the working middle class. The revolution and the sans-culottes freed the nation of absolutism and allowed the working class of France to have a political voice and economical importance. These developments in France's political and social composition are greatly in line with the revolutionary ideals held by the sans-culottes. This signifies that to a large extent, the sans-culottes influenced France's future political systems and social customs. Essentially, the sans-culottes were a violent and aggressive revolutionary assembly, blinkered by their desire for the abolishment of the monarchy. This time period should not be naively interpreted as two-dimensional, but rather as complex and multifarious. Neither should the sans-culottes be romanticized as a rational activist group, unified in their outlook on political rule. Professor Sobel, author of the sans-culottes, states that they were far from cohesive. Varying subfactions of the assembly incorporated diverse political standpoints dependent on personal circumstance. The sans-culottes were a part of the working class struggling in economic prominence. This suggests that their role in the revolution was minimal, as this was an era where success was built upon affluence and family name. However, this sense of social bigotry only spurred on the sans-culottes' hatred for the wealthy and desire for social significance. The sans-culottes thrived off of monarchy discrimination, utilizing its corrupt and flawed system to increase social upheaval. The French Revolution signified the passing of the traditional feudal system and the abolishment of the traditional monarchy rule. The sans-culottes inadvertently prompted new social ideologies whilst reinstating a sense of nationalism. They spread their revolutionary ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity through radicalism and terror. Their manner of dress and meticulous social behavior signified their political stand through hardline resistance. In essence, the sans-culottes greatly shaped the course of the French Revolution through radical militant action.